My name's Ben White. I'm Professor of End-of-Life Law and Regulation in the Australian Centre for Health Law Research in the Faculty of Business and Law at QUT in Australia. And I'm really excited to be talking about the publication of a new book, the Research Handbook on Voluntary Assisted Dying Law, Regulation and Practice, which is being published by Edward Elgar. In terms of the prompt for the book, well, there's been a lot written on voluntary assisted dying, or medical assistance in dying, assisted dying, euthanasia. These are the different sorts of terms that are used depending on which part of the world. It's a field that asks big questions. Should voluntary assisted dying be permitted? If so, who should be allowed to access it? What safeguards, what oversight mechanisms are needed? And while there's been a lot written on it, it's tended to be quite discrete or focused, for example, just on a particular country or just looking at a particular issue. So the goal of this book, this edited collection, was to step back from that and try to comprehensively chart the field of voluntary assisted dying as a whole and globally. An undertaking like this is not possible to do alone, and I'm very grateful to the 58 authors from 14 countries who contributed the 36 chapters which are part of this book. It has 4 parts. Part 1 deals with each of the 17 jurisdictions internationally where voluntary assisted dying is lawful. And in each of those chapters it asks the question of what is the VAD law, how's it working in practice, and what might the future hold. In Part 2, we tackle the frontiers of voluntary assisted dying, and recognising that in some places the questions tackled in this chapter are already law. So for example, should voluntary assisted dying be available to minors? Should it be available on the basis of mental disorder? Should advance requests for voluntary assisted dying be permitted? And what about cases of tiredness of life? There's chapters dealing with each of those. Part 3 deals with the regulation and governance of voluntary assisted dying, how the practice is supervised or what societal control there should be over it. One chapter deals with different oversight models. Another deals with the role of research and evaluation in managing voluntary assisted dying. There's a chapter there which makes the case for holistic approaches to regulation, and another one deals with the vexed issue of whether there are slippery slopes in voluntary assisted dying. Part 4 is entitled Rethinking Conceptions of Voluntary Assisted Dying, and in these 10 chapters we invited authors to think about voluntary assisted dying in different ways. There's chapters, for example, which look at patient choice, the concept of patient choice, as well as objections by individuals and also by institutions. There's chapters which look at human rights and voluntary assisted dying, the relationship between palliative care and voluntary assisted dying, and we've also asked authors to look at a range of different perspectives: feminism, disability, First Nations people, and racially, culturally and linguistically diverse populations as well. This book and these issues are dealt with in a way that reflects that voluntary assisted dying is an interdisciplinary field. Although it's a book about law and regulation, we have chapters in the book from authors from the fields of medicine, bioethics, sociology, nursing, health sciences and social work. On that note, I conclude with my gratitude to the 58 contributing authors, leading scholars from around the globe who make this book what it is. Voluntary assisted dying is a contested field, both in countries where it's lawful, but also in countries considering whether or not to permit voluntary assisted dying. What's needed is careful ethical argument and reliable evidence. And I hope this book helps advance the field by providing both of those.